Hello and welcome to Non-Censored, the editorial meeting. My name is Ed Morrish. I'm the actual producer of Non-Censored, and I'm here with Rosie Holt. Hello.
Hello.
And Brendan Murphy. Hello.
Hello.
And Ishan Akbar. Hello.
Assalamu alaikum.
Controversial.
Yes. That was a slightly more formal introduction than I normally do on this. This podcast goes out every week to our top tier patrons, whom I will thank by name at the end. We thought we would start this new year by putting this out on the main feed to give our regular listeners just a sense of what we do on our Patreon. And why it's 10 quid is because we're normally a lot more indiscreet than we're going to be over the next 20 odd minutes.
Just to say,
and we figured if we're going to get cancelled, we do at least want some money for that.
Yeah.
Just to say,
our price. Everyone has their price, and our price is
and £10, it turns out.
I was just going to say, if you're going to thank all our patrons, we could be here for a long time because we have so many Patreons.
Not at the top tier. That's actually quite an exclusive club. Who
have we got a name for them? The big dogs.
I think
Uncle
it's our people is the tier.
The Noncy. Oh no.
Don't
No.
The two tiers are the Great Unwashed and the Our People, which are both vaguely Thatcherite terms that I thought were appropriate. Anyway, our patrons get the show, the regular show, early. They get it without adverts. They get everything in video. We put all of Rosie's videos up there on the Patreon, just for everyone to see. It's just not a place to see them. And there's bonus every month. There's a time for questions, so you can send in your questions, and Harriet, Martin, and Ishan will answer in character. And then this happens every week, because normally what happens, and has happened this week, is we're recording this on Wednesday, the 15th of January. We picked our stories late on Monday. I think it was late on Monday. And obviously you have to text round to see who's available when we want to record this. This week we're very lucky. We got the first two people we asked, who were Sue Harrison as Liz Truss, because she's been out there being mental. And Keir Starmer, because the big story on Monday, he gave a big speech about AI. And obviously that's very concerning. We've already recorded those two segments. They were very funny, and there's a bit of a crossover. So it's actually one long segment this month. Don't know how I'm going to sort out the editing. Did you want to say anything about those segments before we get into Ishan's?
Only that Keir Starmer is played by the wonderful Jos Norris.
Oh, did I not say that? Sorry.
You said our guest Keir Starmer, which I actually liked. I liked that you like. And we managed to get Keir Starmer the first person we asked.
We had Luke Kempner doing Boris Johnson on one of the first episodes when we started in 2022.
Yeah.
And Apple for a while listed Boris Johnson as an actual contributor to the show. I never corrected it. It has just worked out, taking the piss. But yeah, I particularly enjoyed. Sue reminded us that we portray Liz Truss as very, what's the word?
Sexual.
Very sexual woman. I'd forgotten about that. That at the last minute, that changed the sort of tone of what we planned. But also there was a bit in Keir Starmer's where they talked about the threat to the creative industries and what a hard time the creative, you've seen these comedians, they have to resort to Patreons. And Jules just went on about how sad and pathetic that would be. We'd rather do it. It got a bit, we were thinking, we should do something about the creative industries and the general malaise, but I wasn't expecting it to get that harrowing.
Yeah, it was a real direct hit to everyone involved.
But the thing we normally use the editorial meeting for is to decide what Ishan is going to talk about, because as the sort of only regular segment, we know he's going to be there. We don't have to plan in advance and go, do you want to come and talk about this? So we can just leave it till now. So Ishan, what stories are on your list?
Well, and before I offer you the list, just to give a bit of context for the public listeners, the reason why we're able to do this is because I'm so notoriously reliable.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't understand why. What? The laughter seemed unnecessary.
No, you're like the wolf from Pulp Fiction. You're the guy that we call in when you absolutely, positively need, someone to turn up.
Yeah, and you know
not
it's going
just
to
on
turn
time,
up.
but
And
just like to be there.
yeah.
Always there. So thank you for saying that, Ed. I do appreciate it that you recognise. With that in mind, I have 3 stories for you that I think could work quite well. One is about the Match of the Day presenters, the new Match of the Day presenters.
I don't know about that. What's that?
So Gary Lineker's leaving, and they're now replacing him with 3 people, not all to host at the same time. They're going to be on a rotation. Kelly Cates, Mark Chapman, and Gabby Logan. A bit like, the on Pointless, they've got a rotating cast of people next to Adam Armstrong, whatever his name is. So Kelly Cates, Gabby Logan, and Mark Chapman. And potentially the angle is like there's 2 blonde women and 1 straight white man, and there could be something about the lack of diversity because it's still white. There's no disabled footballers, or anything potentially. So that could be something that could be quite juicy.
Yeah. Do you know Josh Pugh?
I do know
Yes.
Pugh, yeah.
No, he plays for England.
Yeah.
I didn't know
What?
Josh played for England.
Yeah,
He plays for England's partially sighted football team.
Does he?
Wow.
Yeah.
He's captain, isn't he? Was he captain?
Is he captain?
I'm pretty sure he's captain.
Stop it. I did not know that about Josh. What a man of many talents.
Yeah. Funny videos and a very good footballer.
And a very good stand-up. So it's all a very, very talented man. I feel like you're my dad comparing me to a cousin.
It's yes, that's of course your cousin's a doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that because obviously there's a good angle for Harriet, which would be too much diversity.
Yes.
Yeah.
We did actually cover Gary Lineker announcing his departure with Rob Gilroy at the end of last year.
Okay.
And the one thing we don't want on Match of the Day is woke.
We don't want woke.
They want woke.
And then she's going, they've gone woke, and Ishan going, they've not gone woke enough. That could be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that could be one. The other is there's a global report calling for, I don't know why this is making me laugh as I say it, that the obesity label is medically flawed. And calling people obese is medically flawed, and the definition should be split into 2.
Okay.
What should they be split into?
And there should...
Big boys and chunky mamas. That's not.
Exactly.
It's not helpful.
Clinical.
Imagine how you would have phrased that if you knew this was only going out to a doctor.
Yeah, exactly.
Imagine how much worse things would have gone.
Brendan's gone soft. He's gone soft.
Brendan's
sorry.
changed the whole colour.
It is clinical obesity or pre-clinically obese. Now, I think they're ostensibly worse. If you call someone clinically obese, it's just...
Wait, what were they?
Oh, God, it's such a great story. Anyway,
Also, preclinical obese sounds like you are gonna get there. You're just you're in the waiting room.
it should be applied to those remaining fat but fit, or they're at risk of disease. But we're all at risk of disease. I think this is remember the Sophie Hagen thing a few years ago, when the cancer, whatever. I'm not going to talk about it, but I just realised
He would.
But yeah, so
If it weren't for you listeners,
that could be quite funny, and obviously I could, perhaps Harriet could be like, Isha, what would you like to be called? And I'm like, wait, what?
essentially, Jess Foster-Q had a great series called Sturdy Girls Club, which was exploring sort of women's sports. And there was an episode about the first episode of the last series was about CrossFit.
Yeah.
And she had a point about she started getting compliments for losing weight when she started doing, I think it was either CrossFit or powerlifting.
Powerlifting, yeah.
And she just said, the thing is, she hadn't lost weight, but her body shape had changed. She'd put on muscle mass. So she'd actually slightly got heavier, but we view certain body types as healthy and certain body types as unhealthy.
Yeah.
But it's not actually the weight itself.
It's like Emmanuel Sanubi and I are the same weight. All right, Ed. Jesus Christ. I've never heard you make that noise before.
No, I'm sorry. It reminded me of how John Cena and John Oliver have the exact same birthday. And they got John Cena on Last Week Tonight, so they could just do a side-by-side comparison.
That's so funny. So that's one option. And the third one, I think is less fun, but could be. I don't know how tired we are of talking about Elon Musk, but SpaceX rocket launches private missions to the moon. So you can now...
About time.
About bloody time.
When are they going to do more private missions to the moon?
I know. Well, that's
I thought he was going to go... Isn't he going to go to Mars at some point?
Yeah.
I think we are 13 years into the 10 years he'd said he'd get people to Mars.
Right, yes, great.
Yeah.
He said 13 years ago that he'll be on Mars in 10 years.
Brilliant.
But the fact that we're not is probably the fault of woke.
I think woke is stopping us going to Mars.
Yeah. So, the FTC in America have just charged him with failing to declare holdings in Twitter. Because it turned out he owned more of Twitter before he bought it than he said. And this is a crime. And it's brilliant the way the law works in America now. He's just gone, oh, this is stupid. They should be investigating actual crimes.
Yeah, but
the thing is, they are.
This is one.
It is an actual crime.
That's what they're saying, Elon. You can either say, I didn't do it, but you can't say, I did do it, but what about other crimes? Because that's not really how...
It's like the obesity thing again. It's either a crime or an actual crime. It's a clinical crime or a preclinical crime. Like, what do you want it to be?
Pre-crime is very Minority Report.
Yeah.
Also, the thing about preclinical obesity is it does, like, I can understand being in the danger zone. You say, oh, you've put on a bit of weight or you need to exercise more, as sadly what my GP says to me. It's fairly standard. Moderate your drinking, exercise more, don't eat processed food. That's, pretty universal health advice. But there's something about preclinical obesity just indicates that it's inevitable.
Yeah. My GP says it to me as well, but my GP is like definitely obese. And they've had to like take out off his chair the arms from his chair so he can sit down. So when he tells me, I don't know what it is, but he's like, you need to get on top of this weight problem.
You're like, what about you preclinical obese man?
He's not even preclinical.
He is.
If they're adjusting the chairs,
he's post-clinical.
But so presumably
post-clinical implies they've stopped treating you.
Yeah. The NHS can't afford.
These terms are to become more specific for the healthcare community. It's not about like, oh, we've been offending people. It's more just like we need to be a bit more accurate, right?
Yeah, because this report was published in the Lancet Diabetes and Endocrinology Journal. Right. And it's supported by more than 50 medical experts. And one of them said obesity is a spectrum, which I think is very funny.
Obesity is a spectrum.
It's really wide spectrum.
Really?
And some people have
not a narrow spectrum
traits, but are not categorically obese.
So look, those are the three: SpaceX, Match of the Day, obesity. I think we had a lot of fun with obesity just chatting here, but I'm happy with any of them. I think they're all fun.
We have covered Elon Musk a bit with Liz Truss today because obviously he's been weighing into British politics.
Let's stop giving him
didn't really cover the SpaceX stuff, so that doesn't take it off the table. I just think we were more attracted to the obesity stuff.
Well, I mean, this is, to be fair, exactly the kind of stuff that Non-Censored would be honing in on.
Yes,
right?
it's either that or Tulip Sadiq.
Oh, yeah, because I'm Bangladeshi.
Yeah.
Yes.
We know.
That is another option. I know her as well.
Do you?
I don't know her that well, but I've met her once or twice. She was always very nice.
Did you get an inkling that perhaps
free house?
I got a free house out of it, and
it's easy. It's easy to be nice when you've got 3 North London properties. And also,
but she was cleared of all wrongdoing by the Cabinet Office.
She's been cleared, but she's resigned because she said it
was a distraction.
Yes.
And the opposition have basically said nothing about it. They've just...
that's a bit weird, isn't it?
I read recently that Sheikh Hasina, who was the deposed Prime Minister, according to Muhammad Yunus, the new incumbent, they did some research and they reckon that she's taken out 16 billion a year over 15 years from the country. So
really?
if they can prove it, she will be the world's biggest money launderer ever, almost $250 billion.
What the fuck?
What does one do with 16 billion?
So what the new Prime Minister
buy a train ticket on the day.
Yeah.
Just the one, though.
Standard premium only.
Get an open return.
But yeah, apparently the Prime Minister's office, the Bangladesh Bank, and the Fiscal Responsibility Unit apparently were all in cahoots. What would happen is, Bangladesh would get an order for, say, 1,000 dhaka, but the accounts would show 500 dhaka. But the order was for 1,000.
So it's just embezzlement.
Yeah.
Why don't they focus on people committing real crimes?
Yeah.
So yeah,
there was a brilliant. Is it Malaysia, the 3M scandal? I think I was reading about a business. I don't think she's a politician, but she's a businesswoman in Malaysia, and she's done such a large fraud. They've given her the death penalty.
Oh my God!
You can pay it back, or you're going to be put to death.
Of course, a bit extreme, isn't it?
Yeah.
Can't they find a happy medium?
I quite like it, to be honest.
Pay it back, or.
But also, there's a lot of people are very upset that she was involved in the her remit was to tackle corruption in the UK financial markets. But surely you want someone who knows who is corrupt to be in that job. It's like hiring hackers to defend the. You know what I mean? Just
yeah,
good, isn't it?
I think there's a sitcom in that.
It's 1MDB, not 3M. Oh no, that's dwarfs. Vietnamese property tycoon Trong My Lan was sentenced to death in April for masterminding what is claimed to be the world's biggest bank fraud.
Oh.
She could get her sentence commuted to life imprisonment if she can raise 75% of the 12 billion she's convicted of.
Rubbish. It's not even billion.
Compared to Bangladesh, then.
That doesn't sound like a lot of fun.
Wow. I don't understand.
Pho. The dish.
Like,
pho.
Delicious pho.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Very tasty.
Yes.
Had some
great.
Night, actually, it was great. Yeah.
Written down, I think it'd be brilliant.
Those of you who are enjoying non-censored from transcripts are really would have appreciated that. What is the actual angle?
So maybe we could do an apology watch, or I could be.
It was fairly classic apology watch in terms of I became a distraction.
Yes, that could be an angle. It could also be that I slightly, people are upset that she was tackling UK corruption and that whole line of well, who else do you want it to be? I don't understand. Surely you want someone who is au fait with corruption.
Yeah.
Lead corruption, anti-corruption.
The best at it, yeah.
Poacher turned gamekeeper.
Yeah.
Knows all the tricks.
Although this is being publicly heard, so we should stress that obviously Julia was
and also she's been cleared. She's been cleared of all wrongdoing.
Maintains
by Magnus. She's been cleared by Magnus.
So
I'm happy with either. You tell me which.
So to recap, it's Tulip Sadiq or overweight people,
fat people,
or I don't say that. I don't use that word.
Harriet does,
unless I'm going fat. As in cool.
Does. Yeah. Harriet definitely says.
Harriet definitely says it.
Yeah, and my mum. So, or there's space going to the moon, but I don't think.
Brendan, do you have any? I don't know if we need to explain to listeners. The connection seems to be holding up. Brendan is in America at the moment.
Yes, yeah, I am.
The home of the obese.
Well, yeah, I guess so. They do give big portions out here, so you can't really blame them. It's like
when you can.
Every meal is like 2 meals. Although what I do is I take some of it home.
Is that why they do it? Is the idea that you can take some home?
Yeah, box it up, baby.
But even their Jenga is big, as I saw on your Instagram, old Brendan.
Yeah, big Jenga, sure. They got it all. No, not everyone's massive here. It's just I think it's easier to become massive.
big portions. It's really tricky.
Yeah, and the
shrinkflation would be taking care of that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it probably just goes to, well, the boring, honest answer is that if you're poor, then not very nutritious foods are easier to buy. Yeah. But I don't know. I'm afraid I don't have any sort of US insight.
Well, what's the point
I would say
of you being
maybe Ishan described America as the home of the obese. I don't know. I think we might have American patrons. I would say that they might not necessarily be larger on average. It's just the large ones are easier to see.
That's true.
So, there could be like 3 thin ones behind them. Shall I edit that out?
No. I remember I did, on my Hands Down series, I did one with Tatty, and I basically commented that there aren't any fat people in France. And people got very upset with me, saying you're not looking hard enough. And I'm like, what? And people were like, France isn't just Paris, I'm like, okay.
Did Tatty give any pushback on that? Did she go, actually, there's loads of fat people?
Tatty was like, there are some fat people, but she was talking about the French inclination towards moderation, which is why they tend not to be regarded as amongst the fattest in the world.
Okay, what topic are we going to do?
Well, I think we're settled on obesity,
yeah,
aren't we?
It's the most important one, I think.
But also, it's a bit of variety for the show and
a bit of levity.
A bit of variety,
Also, I mean, we've started, and those of you who are already patrons will know this. New listeners, this won't be out next week. We'll put it back behind the paywall where it belongs. We started doing little. We did a session with Will Seabag Montefiore, regular guest, and he was 4 different characters, and we had sort of chats with him, and it does feel like obesity is something that would do quite well on video. Just because the opportunity for people to take what we're doing at absolute face value. The biggest TikTok of Nonsense so far has been Bethany Black explaining why everyone should stay on Twitter, and I would say at least 90% of the comments are from people who don't get that she's doing a joke. I could see how they get there, but it doesn't take much thought. I mean, I put #comedy in the description. So
have you seen on X there'll now be flagging up parody accounts?
Really?
Yeah, everyone's going to get a little parody button or sign next to them. And also certain posts will be flagged as parody as well, just in case you can't tell. Which somewhat undermines...
Twitter has been ruined like this.
Twitter's
I don't use X at all. I'm just not on it.
No, I don't really, and I think I'm going to officially leave on the 19th.
Why the 19th?
Oh, just before Trump.
But I don't know. It's sad because obviously, I built up a big following there, but it's just not very nice now.
But also, it's not a useful following anymore.
No, it's not. It isn't. You get no engagement and a lot of sex bots.
Yes, which I do not enjoy.
Anyway, this is the end of our experiment of putting one of our editorial meetings outside of the paywall. If you enjoyed it, or I don't know if our patrons actually listen to it or they just want to support us for the main show, but you can go to patreon.com/noncensored, and thank you to George Bell, Brian McLaughlin, Simon Meacher, John Reppy, Laura Elizabeth, Simon Chapman, Linda Jones, Donald Trump, not I suspect that one, Delaney Manders, Michael Fox, Tony Penny, Sarah Moore, Katrina Erskine, Chris Hagen, Michael Gill, Ben Rimmer, Ivan Faver, Kieran McIntyre, Paul Rangecroft, Leah Jewett, Robert Harvey, Oliver Holt. Any relation, Rosie?
No.
Jonathan Bolton, Adam Hitchens, Jamie Hudson, and Gethin Bond. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Patrons.
Thank you, guys.
And making this podcast possible and pushing the show towards sustainability, obviously in the current creative economic climate, it is a very good thing to support the media you wish to see. Otherwise, you will just have to settle for what the algorithm serves you. I'm going to stop recording this now. and we'll get on with recording Ishan's segment on As You Heard, Obesity. For those of you who are subscribed, we'll see you next week. For those of you who are Great Unwashed level, there'll be a time for questions in 2 weeks at the end of January. And for the rest of us, enjoy the show. Thanks.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.